Now that the initial preparation is done, we will prepare the demos. This section needs to be performed every time before you present a session. It will be used to reset the services in a state where the demos can be performed. Alternatively, you can just delete everything, redeploy from scratch, and do the initialization that we just went through. Up to you. First, we will set the connection strings of the app service. After the initial deployment, they were pointing to the backup databases. After the demos are performed during the session, the connection strings will point to the target databases, meaning the Cosmos DB instance for the shopping cart and the Azure SQL database for the product descriptions. But first, we need to point the website to the source databases, which are the Mongo virtual machine and the SQL Server virtual machine. Open the app service in the Azure portal and then click on Configuration. Then click on Advanced Edit to show the whole configuration as a JSON file. Scroll down to the setting labeled Mongo Connection String. Then go to the cheat sheet that we prepared earlier and copy the Mongo VM connection string from there. Paste this string inside the configuration file. Go back to the cheat sheet and copy the SQL Server 2012 connection string. Scroll down to the SQL connection string setting and replace the value. Then press OK to close the Advanced Editor and then save. The web application will now restart, which typically takes 1 or 2 minutes. The next check is to make sure that the VMs are up and running. To do this, we will SSH into the Mongo VM. This is a Linux virtual machine, so we will use SSH from the Cloud Shell, but you can use any Linux environment you prefer, for example WSL, Ubuntu, etc. Open the Cloud Shell, which runs at shell.azure.com in a new window. Wait until the shell connects, and then copy the SSH command from the cheat sheet. You will also need to enter the password. Paste the SSH command in the Cloud Shell. The very first time that you connect to this virtual machine, you will need to confirm by typing the word yes. Then enter the password. Once you are connected, type the command mongo to start the Mongo console. This is just to make sure that Mongo was installed properly and is running. You can then type exit, again exit, and then clear. Leave the Cloud Shell open for the demo. Next, we will use Remote Desktop to check that the SQL Server virtual machine is running. Go to this resource in the VMs resource group, and then in the Overview tab, click on Connect. Download the RDP file and then open it. Note that you can also save the RDP file and then just double-click it when you want to connect to the VM. Enter the credentials in the dialog and then click OK. On Mac or Linux, your experience will be a little different, but I'm sure that you can figure it out. In case you forgot, the credentials are saved inside the cheat sheet. Then you can minimize the Remote Desktop window for later. The next preparation step is to check the website and make sure that all the features are working well. For the demo, we have a debug header, which is showing the address at which the databases are running. Since we just changed the connection strings to point to the virtual machines, after you open the website, you should see IP addresses on top. You can navigate among the categories, open a few products, etc. Then you can log into the shopping cart. For this, use the same email address that you used during the preparation. For example, here we use cxa@microsoft.com, but you can use a different address if you prefer. You must just pay attention to always use the same email address. The password, on the other hand, is dummy and doesn't matter. After you are logged in, you will see the Add to Cart button. Try to add a few items to the cart, increase the quantity. This is just to make sure that the connection to the MongoDB virtual machine is working fine. When you are done, make sure to decrease the quantity of each item in the cart to 0 so that the cart is empty, and then you can log off. Then we will reset the database migration service. The first time that you open this service, it will be empty and you can just move on. But if you have already performed the demos, for example to rehearse the session, you will see some migration projects inside the DMS. We will delete them to get a clean slate for the upcoming demo. Click on the 3 dots for each of the projects and click on Delete Project. You will need to enter the project name to confirm, then click Delete. When all the projects are deleted, you will see a green banner on top. Note that sometimes the DMS gets into a faulty state, and then the top banner will be orange and not green. In that case, you can either try to restart the service, or just delete it and create a new instance. We explained further in this video how to do that in details. Next, we will reset the Azure SQL database. Here too, if you are logging into it for the first time, it will be empty, which is just fine. But if you have run the demos before, you will need to delete the tables. To do that, we will use a query editor in the portal. Navigate to the Azure SQL database in the PAAS resource group. Make sure to select the SQL DB and not the backup SQL DB. Click on Query Editor and then enter the username and the password. This can be found in the cheat sheet. Then click OK. At this point, you might need to configure the firewall. This needs to be done every time that your computer's IP address changes. This is quite easy to do. Click on the firewall link, then click on Add Client IP link, and then Save. Then use the Chrome bar to go back to the Query Editor login dialog and press OK again. This time it should work. In the Query Editor, expand the Tables node. If the node is empty, you can just move on to the next step. But if you see some tables there, you need to delete them. This can be done in the Query Editor directly by entering the query drop table dbo.brands. Then run the query. Once the query is successful, you can repeat the operation for each of the tables. Then you can refresh the view and make sure that all the tables have been deleted. The next service we will check is the Cosmos DB, which will serve as a target for the shopping cart. Navigate to this service in the portal. Here too, make sure that you select the correct instance and not the backup database. Wait until the collections are shown. If the collections list is empty, you can just move on, but if you see a collection there, you will need to delete it. To do this, open the Data Explorer. In the Tailwind database, if you see a card collection, click on the 3 dots and then Delete Collection. Enter the name of the collection and then press OK. And now we are done and ready. You can open the slide deck and get ready to present for your beautiful audience.